All right, there we go. All right. Sorry about that little technical difficulty, but I figured it out. All right. Um, Tonight, everybody, we are going to be talking about is foreign dating worth it? Right. And join with myself is my great co host here, my guest, Kings and Dreams. Would you like to introduce yourself, brother?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And as you can see on the bottom right of your screen, my name is Kings and Dreams, and I am a YouTube content creator. And so, what my channel consists of is about traveling, also about mental, physical health, and also interrelationship dynamics, whether they are domestic and abroad. So, as you can see, the title on the thumbnail, we'll get into that.
Right. So tonight we're going to dive deep into some dating, best especially from the black man's perspective, because we're both black men here. I'll
Right.
have some questions set up for my guest here as well, and he can ask me some questions if he has any. And then if you guys have some questions, drop it in the comment section, and we can get into it. Sir, would you like to give us some context, like some countries you traveled to, just to kind of give the audience a little bit of context, a little bit about yourself, like where you traveled and stuff?
Sure, absolutely. So, just to give you context, all right. So, I am not what you would call the media term passport bro, if you will, because I've been traveling since I was 3 years old, and I am of Jamaican descent. Both of my parents are born and raised in Jamaica, moved to the United States. So I've been traveling since I was three. Now, countries that I've been to, of course, Jamaica. I've been to Haiti. I've been to Dominican Republic. I've been to Colombia. I've been to Brazil. I've been to Panama. Excuse me. I've also, when it comes to Europe, I've also been to Spain. I've been to Germany, and I've been to the UK, United Kingdom. I'm trying to think what else. There's a lot.
So many countries is losing track, huh?
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I would say I'm about 15 plus countries. Maybe I may even have crossed the 20 threshold. But I would like to say like this: I'm not new to this. I'm true to this.
Right, right, right. Yeah, myself, I think I'm at 17 countries myself. Um,
Okay.
Shoot, I guess to name a few, I've been to Mexico, Bermuda, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica. Where else have I been? I guess Saint Martin, if that's technically a territory, not necessarily a country. But they have their own flag and everything. France, Ghana,
Yes.
UAE, Tanzania, Uganda, Nigeria, and I'm probably missing a few others, but it's 17 total when I checked. But that's just to name some few to give people context that we're both travelers and we've been traveling for a while. How long have you been traveling? Like, when was your first trip? Like, do you remember the year?
So my first trip, like as an adult,
Um, yeah, let's go with
because
that.
remember I said I've been traveling since I was 3 years old.
Yeah, let's talk
So,
about adult. Yeah, since adulthood, like when was your first adult trip? No parent supervision. You're
right.
literally able to do everything.
Oh, so I would say my first trip was to Canada.
Okay.
I went to Montreal and I went to Toronto. And I know that, right, due to the fact that the United States is right there, Canada's right there, people don't count it. But people also got to think, right, because a lot of people will talk about Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic is also right there because, right, if you take a plane to Puerto Rico and you take a boat from Puerto Rico to Dominican Republic, you're there in what, less than an hour, something like that. So,
Yeah.
in you know, um, I think Canada is slept on. Long story short,
Oh, yeah. So you think Canada is like an underrated country?
like to travel to, yes.
I guess give me, I guess maybe your top three reasons why you say that, or maybe your main reason if you don't have three.
Sure. Well, the main reason I'll just kind of reiterate it again. The main reason is because due to the fact that it's so close to the United States, especially for people who live in the Northeast. Like I'm born and raised in New York City, right? So to get to
Hmm.
Canada is probably what 5 or 6 hours, all right? So and you can just drive over there. So I think that it's slept on. And another thing is when it comes to the weather, right? Because they do on the east side of Canada, like Toronto, Montreal, they do have like harsh winters, right? But then if you were to go on the west side, like Vancouver, they don't
Hmm.
really have harsh winters like that because it's on the west coast. The main like you hear mostly about like Toronto, Montreal, as I mentioned, because it's right there on the east coast. So anyone that's from like the New York metropolitan area, you take a 4 or 5 hour drive, you're pretty much right there. So the first thing would be just the distance. Second thing would be the weather. I would say that the third reason why it's probably slept on is just probably because Canada has some of the westernized like beliefs and things of that sort. So I do know that when it comes to the manosphere passport, bro, RP space, if you will, when it comes to men centric content,
Hmm.
we want to go to places where they're a bit more traditional. So I would say that's another, that would be the third reason as to why I would say Canada's probably slept on.
Okay, that makes sense. I think people might go away from Canada because of the Western mindset that may be prevalent there in common that people talk about. A
Right.
lot of Canadians, they do travel to different places. Like I know in Costa Rica, I've seen a lot when I traveled there personally, as well as not getting enough bang for their dollars. Like I know people are really big on exchange rate. I'm not so much big on exchange rate. Um, because I feel like certain things are just going to cost a lot more overseas than America, but certain things are cheaper. But then you got to look at the quality of living and the service you get as well. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ronan. Thank you. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in the chat pertaining to the topic we're talking about. Is foreign dating worth it for people just joining in? I see everybody's coming in. Thank you for joining in, everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Big shout out. Sorry, really quick. Just big shout out to my man Ronan, my man Theo, and I think one of my moderators popped in here, Culture Invasion, man. But shout out to everyone that's
Yeah,
watching.
shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. Real quick, Ronan. I do have a family, so a little bit of family in Baltimore, and I am from the East Coast as well. So I guess back into some of the questions I have for you. That kind of leads me into some of our experiences, right?
Mhm.
So, what was the first country you dated outside of the United States, like as an adult?
The first country that I had, I would say, semi serious, if you will. It was a bit more than casual. Was actually Dominican Republic.
Oh, okay. How was your experience like with dating there? How did they treat you as a black man? Like, what was your perspective of how the women treated you and interacted with you as a black man in Dominican Republic?
Well, so I would say so like where I grew up in New York City, I grew up in Brooklyn, right? And I grew up in Flatbush, Brooklyn. So you have like a lot of basically like where I grew up, it was we would call like little like Caribbean. So you had Jamaicans here, Haitians there, Guyanese there, Trinidad here. You had some Puerto Ricans, you had some Dominicans, you had some Cubanas. So I was used to dating Hispanic women in the States. So when I was dating a woman from the Dominican Republic, I would say the transition didn't really change much. I would say the main thing that I believe was definitely a bit more prevalent was more of the femininity aspect of it.
Mm. So you think the main difference is the feminism or the femininity of the women compared to, I guess, the lack of femininity or more masculine traits displayed by the women in the United States?
Right. Yes, I definitely do. I definitely do see that. Right. And I'm sure you've seen that as well. What one of the main things that what I have noticed traveling abroad is more of the family aspect, family dynamic, and where it's a more traditional structure. Not saying that the woman couldn't work or anything, but it's understood that men are the head of household, like men are the de facto decision makers, and it's not just like when women, some women, I will say, when they hear that the men is the head and the women are supposed to follow, it's not you just blindly follow, right? It's you have enough trust in this man to support his decision, to believe in him to make the proper decisions, right? And so for me, my experience when I was dating this woman in the Dominican Republic, um, when I would make decisions, she trusted me to make those decisions, and there was little to no pushback.
Right. I think I agree to that. Since we both been in Dominican Republic, I would speak on that a little bit. Like I think the like you said, the pecking order is apparent. Like you're the de facto leader. I think everybody kind of knows the rules. It's not too much debate or discourse about who's going to lead, who's going to follow, and stuff like that. Women know certain roles they have to play at home or certain things they need to take care of, and the men know what they need to do too as well. I know things are kind of changing all across the world due to the fact that the world is changing, right? I think I strongly believe that today is some of the safest times for women. It's not completely safe, but it's as safe as probably it's gonna get. I don't know how much safer it can get, but it's pretty safe compared to other times where women were just getting taken advantage of. There was no punishment for certain things that were happening to a lot of women. So I think a lot of Western women, they do have a lot of laws and things on their side that kind of embolden some of their enable some of their bad behaviors, so they go kind of unpunished, and society doesn't even punish them from a societal standpoint. There's no shaming anymore. Everything is kind of like let go, because what I noticed overseas, certain things women would feel shame if they did it, as opposed to maybe in the United States, if I'm going to make that comparison, they won't feel as shamed. I'm not saying that the DR is the, I guess, most conservative place, but they definitely have a different culture when it comes to certain things. Um,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just want to piggyback off of your point, right? Because I agree to the standpoint of like
Salute,
where
Peter.
oh, salute, salute. Yeah, so I just want to piggyback off of your point to the standpoint of where you were mentioning how how feminism, if you would say modern feminism, that is, where women are able to have a lot of choices, whether it is uh, working, and not only that, but the kind of work that they do. And when it comes to women doing sex work, like especially in Western cultures, it's almost praised as opposed to frowned upon, right? And I know, as you mentioned, like in the Dominican Republic, uh, you have some of that. You do have some red light areas, but there are a good portion of women who will still see shame in women just kind of putting themselves out there, right? Whether they are doing OnlyFans or whether they're working at a strip club or things of that sort, right?
Mhm.
So there is that level of like, okay, if I'm caught doing this, I could, I would be ashamed. My family would be ashamed to claim me.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's what I was going into. Like some of the shaming is going away. Some of
right,
the legal aspect. Um, the laws aren't really on our side as been historically definitely black men. So it's like a double thing coming at us. So that kind of leads me to some of the questions I really want to get into. I guess not so much personal, but more of the debate topic a little bit. So, is
sure.
foreign dating better than the U.S.? And I have a few questions, kind of breaking down to maybe we make a decision on that because it depends on different factors, I guess, and it depends on who you ask. So,
Right.
I wanted to ask you, Kings and Dreams, why do you think black men date abroad?
Well, I think most men, and I'll harp on black men, but I would say most men and black men in general, one of the reasons why they do consider dating abroad is because there's not this yellow tape, if you will, where you have to comb through to really see if there's genuine interest, right?
Mhm.
So let's take for an example. Now, most people know me who subscribe to my platform and watch my platform that I'm a Colombia guy, right? Because I have a place in Colombia. That's the country that I travel most, right? Because I'm financially invested in it, right?
Right.
And so when it comes to places like Colombia or Brazil or even some places in Southeast Asia, and you hear the feedback where the women value the family aspect and just have the more traditional values, and I would say that now again, it's not everything is not 100%, right? But
Mhm.
if you were to ask a woman out on a date, she's going to want to go on a date because she's actually genuinely interested getting to know you. What has happened is the level of hypergamy, and we could go down like why the level of hypergamy is has skyrocketed right to what it is now. But I'll get to that later. But long story short is the hypergamy when it comes to women in the West, particularly in the United States, they will go on a date with you. Typically, it's because they want to either do that specific activity or, yeah, that specific activity or try that restaurant or things of that sort. So it's not a genuine interest of you, right? So, for an example, you Malik Foster Travels,
Yeah.
you approach a woman, you get a phone number, and you say, "Hey, I want to, hey, let's go out." She's like, "Hey, have you tried this new restaurant on Fifth Avenue?" Right? And you say, "Okay, let's go there." And you're thinking that she has a genuine interest in you, but the probability of her just wanting to go there is pretty high,
Hmm.
right? So her not wanting to actually spend time with Malik Foster Travel. It's her wanting to try out that restaurant and getting food from that restaurant. And then not only that, to add insult to injury, there could be a guy who didn't have to do all that, and she could be bringing home food for him. So now this is a double whammy. She's not interested in you. You've taken her to said restaurant, and then she brings back a doggy bag for a guy who's gonna do her doggy style. See me?
All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think I'll offer, I guess, pushback. Like, don't you think maybe with women, or just a different point of view? Like,
sure.
yeah, women are hypergamous in the United States, but you could say that's their nature everywhere. Um,
Yes.
I would add on that I think a lot of the laws and way the system is set up is more of the reason why a lot of black men are now starting to travel abroad because they realize not only is it getting popular and they're seeing more black faces traveling, so they feel more comfortable, but also that the laws are just not on our side, especially the good brothers, maybe without kids, or you have one kid, or you're single, or recently divorced. It's like, what's the point based off of
Right.
like the legal aspect, right? The
Yeah.
family courts are against you, you know, and you can't really build the family or get what you want, even though you're paying as much as anybody in the world to
Yeah.
support
No,
women, even
absolutely.
if it is 50-50. Our 50% is still more than most places. So what
Right.
maybe you
Yeah.
can
No,
add on to that.
absolutely. Yes. No. No. Absolutely. And just to kind of respond to what you were saying, well, when it comes to hypergamy, hypergamy is everywhere. I'm of the belief that women globally want a man who is doing better than them because they want a man to look up to respect, right? And so if you are doing just about the same as them or not as well as them, then they lose a level of respect for you. And so the hypergamy, that aspect, I believe is global. Now, when it comes to the United States, as you mentioned, like the child support laws, marriage laws, things of that sort, right? So the hypergamy is like on a level 10, right? Like you ever play, if you ever play like video games, right, and you play the video game on like super hard level, like it's just one of those things where, you know, like you're like, damn, man, like it's gonna take me forever to beat this game unless you're like a super master at it.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is that when it comes to men dating abroad, in a sense, it's a bit of a cheat code. Now you still have to put in work. You still have to put in work, but as you mentioned, the marriage laws are against you, right? Uh, child support laws are against you. So when you have to deal with that, and then like everything, the price of everything is going up, right? So it's like you really have to make probably, and if you're living in a metropolitan area, you would have to make, let's just say, maybe about 125,000 or more to really live fully comfortably, unless you're living well below your means. If you're living well below your means, obviously you can make it happen, right? But it's just like, okay, if I can make half of that and I can live abroad, I can basically not only find a better quality of life when it comes to the price of living, but also more times than not, I'll be able to find a woman who's going to be agreeable and be more willing to cooperate with me.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really have anything else to add to that
Okay.
besides that. I think I want to add that on the pricing situation, I think that's a good point, because when it comes to the pricing, we're noticing. I noticed the other day when I was driving around my area, out here in the Georgia area. I was like, man, the prices of houses are really going up. Like I
Right.
saw 600,000 for a regular home. It wasn't even executive. And I remember just like before COVID, executive homes you could get for maybe 300, 350, maybe 400, or a little under 400. You can get an executive home in a nice neighborhood. Now
Mhm.
it's like seven, 800,000, if you maybe if you're
Right.
lucky.
Yeah.
So it's like the cost of homes have gone crazy up. The mortgage rates have gone kind of crazy. Wages haven't really gone up, and it's like, how can you get that relief? We're kind of getting hit from all sides, socially, financially, economically.
Right.
In that home. So it's like
Right.
too many things are attacking us, so it's kind of forcing us to shift our thinking, which I think is a good thing. because I think
Right.
that will focus other people to improve things somewhere, whether it's the women improving things, how they handle the man women relationship, whether the government changes the laws or corporations, hey, let's pay some more or figure out how to increase the quality of life. So, but they're always trying to cut costs, not really add costs,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah. No,
understand it's business, but you know,
right. And another aspect I would like to add to it is when it comes to black men who are coming from the United States, it's also seen upon like you're just looked at as a black man, right? You're just, I mean, sorry, you looked at as an American, not as a black man in the States, where certain places you travel to, you feel like that, that undertone, like, all right, I know I can't really be in in this area for a long time. Like I better do what I got to do and get out. So I didn't want to swear on your platform. If this was solely mine, I would have said what I was going to say.
oh yeah, yeah, I
But
understand, I understand.
but yeah, just like do what you got to do and get out. And then it's kind of like this weight lifted off your shoulders when you are traveling to other places, and they just see you as an American, not just this black man, right? And so with that stigma, I think a lot of us as black men who live in the who live in the United States, right, and travel, like it's like we have the monkey off of our back, so to speak, when we go to these places. It's like we can relax, you know what I mean? Because like
Yeah,
there's this undertone of tenseness, right? When you go to certain areas in the United States as black men, or if you're driving, DWB, driving while black, you know what I mean? You just got to be really careful. You know what I mean? In other countries, not to be too long winded, I'll drive my point home here. But in other countries, if if you're in a taxi, or if you are actually driving in another country, you get pulled over. Certain places they may shake you down, but that's just because you're an American. Whatever, you give them a couple of dollars, you're on your way. But like certain places in the United States, you get pulled over, you may not know if you're gonna make it out of there in one piece.
right. Yep. Yeah, facts. That kind of led me. What you just said kind of leads me to another question I wanted to ask you about what
Yeah.
to expect as a black being traveling outside the United States or outside the West, because some people from Canada watch, some other Western countries, because that's mainly who's like traveling a lot abroad, Western people.
Right.
So what do you say to that? Like what can specifically a black man expect when they're traveling? I guess like in that situation you were talking about being pulled over by foreign authorities, foreign police. What to expect? Like even if you do break the law, sometimes it's like, oh, here's a fine instead of going to jail automatically.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you just reiterate the question? I want to make sure
Oh, the
that
question is, what do you expect as a black traveler? I guess it doesn't matter if you're with a group or solo, just as a black person traveling abroad, because a lot of black people still haven't traveled, even though the
right,
passport bro movement is big. It's not even 50%. I believe black Americans, males, have passports that are eligible.
right.
So
Yeah. Well, what I would say is, what do you expect, or what to expect rather?
yeah, what to expect? Yeah.
Yeah, when you're traveling, I would say, of course, if you're in the right area, peace of mind, right? Peace of mind. Um, you don't have to go with this chip on your shoulder, right? And so, as I mentioned, I'm from the New York City area and born and raised in New York City, and like if you walk down the street and you smile, if you were to smile at like another guy or say like good morning, they thinking you playing for the other team, man. Like that don't fly over here, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like in other countries, like, you can walk down and see, another person, and you smile and say, hey, good morning, you know what I mean? And they just say good morning, and they go about their business. It's no problem. So I would say peace of mind. That would
Mhm.
be what to expect. And again, I'm talking about going into the right areas. So like, if because I know some people, some people, a little bit of people like to go to different countries and actually like to go to their, like, to the poorest areas. And it's like, okay, like, no matter what hood you go to, you're gonna get hood ish, right? So like, don't go to the hood, and especially if it's not your hood, like it's not even your country. Don't do that, and expect to not, like, unless you're with like the right people. Long story short, but don't put yourself in those precarious situations, right?
Right.
So what I'm saying is that if you are in a safe area, right, you're gonna expect peace. No one's gonna bother you. They may actually even be intrigued, depending on what country you travel to, and they see that you're American, and they're intrigued to actually learn about America, and tell them about America and try to find out more information about their country. I would say the most history that I have learned, and of course, going to school in the United States, was from traveling. Like, anything that I've read in the history books, like that, it's burnt, it's out the window. I don't remember anything from history, right?
Yeah.
Because you get so much knowledge while traveling. And I know that we're talking about dating and things like that, but what gives you a leg up, if you will, is when you are dating a woman from said country, is the knowledge that you've learned about the country, because she will look at it, okay, like, not only has he taken an interest in me, but he's taken an interest in my country, my culture, right? So it's always good to study and learn, and you would be pleasantly surprised by what you find out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I think a lot of people they admire Black American culture. So
Mhm.
I think that's something that a lot of people may be kind of culture shocked about, because when you listen to the news, or when you're in the United States, it's kind of like, a lot of things are bad, except maybe the sports and stuff and entertainment. But
Right.
when I went abroad, people respected like the fight that Black Americans did, in terms of fighting, and racism, civil rights, all that stuff. They
Right.
respect that, because a lot of different groups, they I guess they learn from Black Americans when it comes to that, and Black Americans definitely set a lot of cultural trends. So they like, the movies, the entertainment, the artists, the sports, and all of that kind of stuff. You know, the swag, or whatever you want to call it. A
Mhm.
lot of people are really into that kind of stuff, like Black American culture. Even though some people may say Black Americans don't have culture, or Americans don't have culture. I don't know why some people may say that, but that's the talk. But that's a surprising thing when I went abroad and I saw that. I don't know if you agree with that assessment or not, but that's something I was kind of
Well,
shocked by.
what I would say is that we have a culture, but we're not cultured.
Hmm.
So, in meaning that, in meaning that, like, even though I lived in the United States, but like my culture is from the West Indies, right? So,
Yeah.
we have that, we have that culture, and like, when it comes to, and I'll even circle back to Colombia, right? So in Colombia, most families, like, they'll get together every Sunday, right? The grandfather, the grandmother, aunts, cousin, nieces, nephews, or what have you. This happened even with my ex, who I was with for 3 years, and every Sunday, the family would get together, have food, right? Have drinks, whatever. Usually in the United States, it's usually a holiday that people are getting together, and because it's just that everyone is just so busy, focused on what their own thing. Maybe well, Thanksgiving they'll get together, Christmas they'll get together, um, maybe like on Mother's Day or something like around the cookout or whatever. But I will say, long story short, that they are hyper focused on making sure that the family is together, right? And of course, everyone has jobs, everyone has things to do. But I will say, and even even in Jamaica, like it's always some sort of gathering where family is coming together. It doesn't have to be a Thanksgiving or Christmas or some sort of holiday. And I
Right.
would say that what I have experienced is that it doesn't have to be a holiday for people to get together. And I think that like that's one of the things where I guess the pushback would say when it comes to people in the United States not being cultured, right? Because there is a culture, but like, do we follow? Do we have a culture to where people want to follow? And I would say like I mean outside of music or entertainment, and that entertainment includes like sports and things like that, but not really, because the family dynamic is severely missing, and I also think that goes into the feminism and the hypergamy, because right, like there's as I mentioned, the head of the family is usually like the grandfather or great grandfather, if the great grandfather's still alive, right? And
Mhm.
all of the nieces and uncles and everybody respects him, but that dynamic is so lost.
Right. And I think that has to do with, the marital rates. No matter what group it is, it's pretty bad
Right,
in the United States. Personal, like in that specific country, when it's hovering around 50% annually, that's pretty bad. For
right,
all groups, it's not really good. And then I guess if you're talking about Black people in the United States, a lot of them, the marital rates are bad, even though they used to be the best group when it came to marital rate. So it's really bad for all groups. And I think, I guess, even though it's not just about Black men, but particularly Black men, it's really bad because a lot of Black women aren't really getting married, or a lot of Black men are opting out not to get married to Black women in the United States. And just, a lot of Black men are single without kids even. So
right.
it's a big problem what you mentioned with the culture. And the United States needs a reset button and needs to scale back on being so, I think, liberal, because I think most men are more conservative or maybe moderate, if anything, because those type of policies tend to align with our thinking and what we will want out of a family and social life, as opposed to liberal. We don't have that respect and authority that we really want. That's what I've come to learn. Like, those type of policies don't lead to good family building, family structures.
Yes, I tend to agree. I definitely tend to agree with that. I think that when it comes to the family dynamic, right? It's not something that is focused upon, right? Because you would hear, especially in our community specifically, right? Like women are taught, hey, focus on school, and once you get your degree, then you focus on a man. But what ends up happening is that while these women are so hyper focused on getting their degree, right? They develop these masculine tendencies, right? To be like the lone wolf, to get it out the mud on their own, and they don't know how to work with someone, how to work with a man, right? Because I was watching a video. I want to say last week, and I forget the name. I forget, but I can tell you after this podcast, I'm gonna find it, and I'll
Yeah.
probably send it to you. And you just add it to the description. But essentially, what it is that so they were talking about how like a white woman could be in sales, and sales is a very like you have to be aggressive, assertive, and things like that, right? Because you have to get a good closure rate. You're competitive, right? So you can develop some masculine traits. And so one of the women, she was asking, how come these white women who are in sales can be married, but if black women in sales can't? See, the thing is that like when it comes to our community, we still don't value the family dynamics. So in other communities outside of our own, you still have women who can still, be competitive and you know, be in a competitive market like sales, but she does know when she comes in the house that is the house that the man, her husband, paid for. And she still respects him as head of household, right?
Mhm.
Still has the job, she still has the career and everything like that. But when the man come home, you know, hey babe, I got your food ready, I got whatever ready, blah blah blah, whatever the case is, she still respects him as that man, right? And so when it comes to our community, we got the boss babes, the queen bees, or whatever you want to call it, right? And it's like, you know, I don't need a man, but women in other communities could still have a career and still have the family dynamic. And that is one of the big things that's missing from our community. And then when the light bulb comes, when the light bulb comes in their head, you know, they've essentially seen they don't see the men there, right?
Mhm.
There was a New York Times article about a month or so ago, and the title was stated, "Where are the men?" What ended up happening, Malik? They don't snap. They were in
Mhm.
Dominican Republic. They were in Colombia. Shout out to Austin Holloman. They're in Kenya.
Kenya,
They're
Thailand. There you go.
You know what I mean? Richie Maxuna, Thailand. They're in Thailand. My
Yeah.
man Roland Travels. He just moved to the Philippines. Gone. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it's like by the time they've waken up, Thanos done took all the Infinity Stones and snapped men in different places.
Right.
And for bros or blue book gentlemen or whatever you like to call this. But men have realized like, okay, we do most of us do prefer black women, but we don't like the westernized attitudes of some black women,
Right.
right? So that's why we'll go to a Nigeria, we'll go to a Kenya, we'll go to a Ghana, we'll go to Tanzania, we'll go to Ethiopia, um, we'll go to Zimbabwe, we'll go to Brazil, right? Because
Right.
what people realize is Brazil is also the second biggest African population outside of the United States, and yeah, outside of the United States, and also the continent of Africa.
Right.
So, right, so it's not that black men are saying that we don't want black women. It's the westernized modern black women who have built everything up, and then now you want to get into this relationship with us, but you don't know how to be a wife. You don't know how to be a mom. You don't know how to work with anybody because you've been so hyper focused on getting your degree or getting into your field that you've been this lone she wolf, so to speak. So you don't know how to interact and build with a man.
Mhm.
And then you want the men who are already built, but then when the men who are already built, they see that you are combative and they see that you are someone that they can't work with, it's like, okay, you've built yourself up. I've built myself up too. But here's the thing, right? High risk pregnancy comes from 35. Not saying women can't have kids after 35, but it's typically high risk, right? So, okay, you can have a man 45, 50 years old, uh, or even higher than that, 50 plus, and go and get himself a nice 26, 27-year old woman who's going to be all for it, who's going to be all for willing to work with him, willing to not only be a wife, but be a mother. That's another thing because women have to also know not only to be a wife, but also to be a mother and how to balance the two.
Right. I definitely agree with what you're saying. I was gonna add to the marriage aspect that a lot of women don't even know. Like the easiest way for them to increase their income is to get married. Like
Right,
married women out earn single women, on average. So if you're just being logical about it, which nowadays is hard for a lot of people to be logical, it seems.
right,
Try to get married because that's gonna double or triple my income. Yeah, it increases a man's income too, but not as substantially. Like a woman's income in like doubles or in some cases triples. But a man's income increases, it does increase, but not double. You see what I'm saying? So marriage
right,
is a very big factor for women, and women should be number one for them if their concern is money. Like, you're not gonna outcompete, a married woman, as a single woman. That's not gonna happen. They can forget about it. There's cases where you can, but if you're looking at the numbers, no. And I think a lot of people worry about that exception to the rule and look at how celebrities or other
right,
figures that are popular in social media and think that's the norm or reality. And I think, the delusion that we see through social media is what's really affecting people. I know they're definitely trying to limit a lot of kids with social media. Like I know Virginia passed a law recently about it. Let's see how that goes, how they're going to monitor that because they're talking
mm,
about fining people or whatnot. But we'll see how that is. But social media definitely has had a big impact on the delusion of lives that people are living because it's easy to kind of edit things and fake the funk on social media. But when it's time to produce receipts, what are you showing? Because we've seen in a lot of scamming and we're seeing a lot of lawsuits, a lot of different things that a lot of these women that people think are living this lavish lifestyle they're doing in order to keep up with it, keep up with the
right,
Joneses, in order to inherit wealth because they're not going to get married because who wants to marry those kind of women? It's
right, yeah,
possible, but highly unlikely. So they got to secure the bag where they can get it. And it's kind of ruthless over here in the United States, for the guys out here, hardworking, average blue collar men. They got a couple trades. Maybe they got a little small business or something. It's very difficult for them out here. And when you weigh the options, when we look at it from that perspective on guys who are seriously trying to build up serious relationships and marriages, I don't think the United States, is the best option for most guys. It might be a best option for certain guys. Yeah, if you're earning top money and you can pay your way out of anything, yeah, it's a good option for you because like if something bad happens, you could just pay your way out and you have no money to spare. But the average guy, it seems like even if you're just slightly above average, or maybe a little bit of upper middle class, it's not a good option for you. When you look at the legal aspect, you look at the social aspect, you look at the political aspect, it's just bad across the board. Um,
right. So, okay, so let me ask you a question. What's 50,000 plus 50,000?
that sounds rhetorical, but I'll answer it. 100,000.
Okay. What's 60,000 plus 60,000?
Oh man, you got me thinking tonight. 120,000. I think.
Right.
Right.
So So like, and the reason why I'm asking this question, and yes, it is rhetorical. The reason why I'm making this statement is because, right, like average people don't want to be with average people anymore. I definitely think social media has played a factor. I definitely also think that when it comes to like the commercials that you see, right, like you look at the commercials that you see, and so like I work with the marketing department, and so a lot of products that we would promote, and we would have like these marketing strategies. It would always be catered. It would always be catered to women because women typically usually spend the most money. And that's
Mhm.
just the truth. That's just the truth. We would never, we would never say it in the office, but in my mind, when I'm coming up with these ideas, no, when I'm coming up with these ideas, I'm like, oh, this is gonna hit good with woman because the woman's gonna turn to her husband and say, hey, babes, blah blah blah, whatever the case is, right? And the reason why I was asking you about what's 50,000 plus 50,000 or 60 plus 60 is
Yeah.
because like average people don't want to actually combine that income. As you said, married people not only make more money but they save more money, right?
Mhm.
Because all right, so Malik, you're dating Tasha, right? Tasha has her own apartment, you have your own apartment, right? Not only are both of you helping to pay someone's mortgage, because when you're paying for an apartment, that's essentially what you're doing. You're helping someone pay their mortgage,
Right.
right? Because that apartment, unless you own that apartment, you're renting, you're helping someone pay, you're helping your landlord pay his mortgage. That's
Right.
just the truth of the matter of it,
Yeah, that's
right?
facts. Mhm.
Right. So, you know, why not Tasha and Malik come together? That combined income, that's 100,000, and you can get yourself a house, right? Um, okay, hold on, I'll respond to that. But you can get yourself a house and a house together, right? You know, you'll you'll get a family plan for a cell phone. You
Mhm.
save money that way, right? When it comes to property, right? Now, now you're a homeowner. Now you're not renting, right? So that home will be able to build up. You'll be able to build equity, right? And so these are things that I would say a good portion of westernized women don't think about. They think about the now. Men are thinking about the future. This is why men are dating abroad, right? Because or becoming expats because they're looking at the long game and saying,
Mhm.
okay, right, I have to pay not only these high bills. Gas is just extremely expensive. It's hard to find a woman who's going to be even cooperative, right? So I can just go to this place and find a woman, and I can build with her, and I can have equity. Once I pass on, I have something to pass on to my children, right? And so there was a question, and I gotta remember the name of these podcasts, but there was a question that was asked, right? And essentially, what it came down to was, um, if the woman was unhappy, would she leave the marriage? And most of the women on this panel answered yes, right?
Mhm.
I think only one said no, but it was about 10 women. One woman said no, she would stay. Other woman said they would leave. And they asked a group of men, right? All of them said that they would stay because they're willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
So when I hear about who's really selfish and selfless, it's men who are really selfless because we're still willing to date and be the providers. And again, I'm talking about good quality men. I'm not talking about like hobo pookie who just couch surfing and doing all that other bull. Oh, so I almost slip, but all that other nonsense. But you know what I mean. I'm talking about like
Yeah, we're not talking about societal bums,
yeah,
basically.
societal bums, right? Yes, I'm talking about a good quality man. He may not necessarily be
Mhm.
making six figures, but you know what? Like he's a good person. He works hard. He shows up to work every day. He take care of his responsibilities. As a man, he pays his bills on time. He has good to decent credit. Like he's a productive person in society. He's not a counter
Mhm.
person, right? And so it's like why why put myself through all of this when I can go to another country and have the peace that I want? And I still want to be able to be that provider, and I still want to be that leader, and I still want to sacrifice because I want to have children. And when I pass on, I want to leave my children or our children, him and his wife, you know what I mean? Something that I worked hard to gain.
Mhm. Right. I wanted to add on that we have a few statements
Sure, sure. Yep.
and questions. Some people said, I know you wanted to respond to this.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Yeah. Shout out to my man Santika, man. It's my
yeah,
guy.
yeah, Santika said, I agree marriage is not a good option in the US, but I haven't met an American overseas looking for a wife. Hashtag just saying. I'm assuming that's what he meant with that hashtag.
Well,
So, um, I've seen some YouTubers get married overseas, so
yeah,
who are Americans. So I mean,
yeah,
I think that kind of debunks that. Um,
yeah. What I would say, what I would say to Santika is like whether whether they're looking for a wife they, or a long term relationship. So let's take long term relationship and building a long term relationship, and if that leads into marriage, okay. But I would say most men, right, are looking for that, right? And yeah, I know that there are like anything that you see like on social media, um, of course, like the clips that go viral, a guy says passport bro, and then you see like a guy in a red light district, and you see a bunch of women with their everything out. You know what I mean? So
mhm.
I get that. It's a bad look. But what I would say is that that's probably maybe 1% of the men, because most of the men who aren't content creators um, are just going about their lives and not really posting on social media. They may post on like private groups or what have you. But I would say that most of them are looking to get into a quality relationship, long term relationship, and
uh,
and if that leads into marriage, cool. Yep, go ahead.
yeah, we got another question too as well. Kings and Dreams. Uh,
Oh, is that
Jake,
my guy Jason?
yeah,
If that's my
I
guy
don't know.
Jason,
It might be. Um,
yeah, yeah, I
Jake,
think that might be my guy Jason. If that's him, yeah, he's
he's
stationed
from.
out in Germany.
Yeah. It's him. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay, that's my
stationed
dude,
out in
man. That's
Germany.
my
Yep,
dude.
it's him. He said, which countries have the best rights for father rights for an American man if he has children in that country? So, um,
Colombia.
hmm. I think there's
Um,
several countries that I think any country that's patriarchal and not feminist ran is a good bet. Like maybe some things might tweak in terms of child support and stuff, but
mhm.
any country that the women aren't getting their way is a safe bet, pretty much. But then
Yeah,
from
yeah,
there, you
I,
kind of
I,
have to
that's
look
a good
into
way to
the
answer that.
nuances of the rules. But usually, as an American man, they'll let you slide on some stuff. Like if you just you know pay what you need to pay, you're good. It's not going to be nearly as much as you paying in the United States. as far as any child support, any family care you got to give to the woman, the mother of your child? Because I'm assuming this is not a marital situation he's talking about, because that's totally different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He responded.
Oh,
Let's see.
more about. Oh, okay. I think he said more about a woman child alienate. Could a woman child
Oh, like okay,
alienate?
yeah. So like I think what he means is like if the woman is trying to keep the child from the father. I think that's what you mean, Jason. But yeah, as I mentioned, Colombia is a good one. Um, I would say I would say another good one would be um El Salvador. That's another good one. Brazil.
Oh, okay. Okay, I
Yeah,
get what you're saying.
The Dominican Republic. So shout out to my man Russ Taylor Made Dreams. So like he has a child in the Dominican Republic, and he lived in Dominican Republic for a long time, and then now he lives in Thailand. Of course, he comes back to the Dominican Republic to spend time with his daughter, but like there's no there's no like drama or anything where like the woman can't alienate the child from seeing the father unless obviously there's some extreme circumstances or whatever, like if the father is deemed dangerous or you know what I mean, like some
Yeah.
sort of child endangerment. But like yeah, like it's not like in the United States where in full transparency they don't really care much.
Oh, okay, okay. I understand. Why? Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it also depends what country you decide to. I guess you would have to plan that out. Like, hey, I have a woman. I'm going to move you here. Usually it's your wife, but whatever you want to do, you move her to, let's say, Chile instead of maybe Canada, because you feel like Chile has better rules than Canada, for example. That could be an option, but I think to what you were asking earlier, Jason. You were asking. You snuck that in there. I wanted Kings and Dreams' opinion on this. He was saying that most men are looking for marriage? Question mark. When they travel abroad, I think most men are looking for peace first of all.
Yes.
Wherever shape or form that comes in for them is peace. And I think most men do want to get married. So I think the answer to your question directly is yes, but not all men are looking for marriage. And I don't want to get marriage confused with most men wanting to be monogamous. Because some people get it confused.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, men want to be married, but maybe not most men want to be monogamous. So
Right.
those things aren't they don't go hand in hand. Those are two separate things. Hopefully that explains that. Kings and Dreams, do you have um any anything to say about that?
I think that you're absolutely correct, right? Because I think that most men are looking for peace, and I would say like, and however that comes, whether they are in a long term relationship or they are married, right? But I think that the main thing that they're looking for is peace. You know, now when it comes to a good portion of the men who have been on this passport bro movement, right? A lot of I don't want to. Yeah, I'm going to say a lot. A lot of these men have been married or in long term relationships, so they have been on this. It's like the hamster on the wheel effect, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
were basically just on this wheel trying to navigate this lifeless marriage, if you will. And then they got a new wave of enlightenment, and they say, okay, well, I'm gonna go abroad and I'm gonna find peace, and say, okay, you know what? I can date two, three, four different women or whatever the case is, and everything is going well for me. Great, right? And there are a good portion of men who, do that for a while, and then they happen to meet a woman, and then they get into a more serious relationship. I will say this, like the relationships, all the relationships that I've got into, usually I'm not necessarily looking for a relationship, but it ends up being someone who makes me want to get into a relationship with them. I always approach things like, you know what, we'll see where it goes.
Right.
And that's just from my experience. Not only having a background in nightlife, but also being former athlete, right? So working with artists, and so I'm used to seeing women and seeing a lot of like diabolical things. So typically, like when I meet a woman, it doesn't matter if she's from New Jersey, from Ireland, she could be from Nairobi, whatever. I always am going to take the situation with a grain of salt at first, because you just never know what a woman's intentions are, right? And so you have to make sure that you do your proper vetting.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. With you, Kings and James. I wanted to respond to Mo Black. He comes on my channel sometimes. I believe dating foreign dating is worth it for Americans, especially Black Americans, because you just get more for your time, money, and energy. Like anything you can think about, you just get more bang for your buck, for lack of better terms, right? Like you go over there, it's easier to get kind of what you want, as opposed to in the United States. It's a lot of things you have to deal with outside of the women that can be very stressful for you. Not to mention the women are going to be stressful, and that's a given no matter where you go. So it's like you got to deal with too many things, like the cost of living, the stress of working, the job, like so many hours. Then you got to deal
Yeah,
with, the society, the social life. Social life is bad, and it's not a lot of camaraderie with men, because the men are just always working, overworked, underpaid, stuff like that. So, you
yeah,
know, and then you come home and you can't even get any peace at home. Is that really worth it?
right.
You
Yeah,
work
no,
all these hours and you can't even get peace at home. I don't know if that's worth it.
no, no, absolutely. Shout out to Mo Black, and I think that is worth it. I think that is worth it if you don't have the microwave approach. And what I mean by the microwave approach, right, is some guys, they get enamored by a woman's beauty, right? I mean, even if you look in the background, so this is actually a live stream of me interviewing beautiful women from Brazil, Colombia, and I'm trying to think. I think also um, somewhere in South America. But nonetheless, these are beautiful women from Latin America, right? And
Mhm.
I know that like a good portion of guys, they talk to any one of these women, they would get so enamored with these women's beauty, be such in a rush to get into a relationship, not knowing what her family dynamic is and things like that. And not saying that these women aren't good quality women, but the thing is that some men are just so quick to have the microwave fast track, right? You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
just like no, you gotta take your time when getting to know them. And I'm talking about it if you're dating seriously. If you're dating casually, then it's just casual. right? But if you're looking to actually take a woman seriously, you have to take your time in order to vet her and get to know her. Um, I will say that when it comes to dating women, especially in outside of the United States, the women tend to be more straightforward if there is genuine interest. If there's not genuine
Mhm.
interest, they typically will just say, "Hey, I'm not really interested," right? And that's cool, right? Because listen, I mean, we're all men in here. I think Miss Polly left a comment, and thank you for dropping in here. But like we're all men, right? It doesn't matter if most women will say you're a level 10 as far as looks or you're a level 1.
What's up,
Every man
DC?
has gotten rejected once, at least once in their life, twice in their life, whatever the case is, right? So because men, we know how to deal with rejection. What I'm getting to is that like we're okay with the rejection. We're not okay with trying to lead us on and make it seem something more than what it is. And it tends to be that way, especially in the United States. As I mentioned earlier, women, like they even had on the New York Times, they even had an article called Foodie Calls. I think I actually did a live stream about this. This was about 2 years ago, and there's actually an article. Like I'll send you a link, Malik.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
but it was actually called Foodie Calls, and it was a woman in the United States, and she was going on dates with these men, as I mentioned earlier, to try out these new restaurants, right? And so she had like a blog on like Reddit or something, and other women were doing that. So they were going on these dating apps, right, and meeting men and going out for dates and essentially just ghosting them afterwards, right?
I think I heard about this. I heard about the phenomenon, but
Yeah,
I didn't know what it was like called. But it just makes sense in my brain, like foodie calls. They just using men for dates.
yeah,
Mhm.
the writer, the writer for New York Times, they always got to give something catchy, but you know what I
Right.
mean. But that's essentially
Yeah, they always gotta
what she
do
called
that.
it. She called it foodie calls. I mean, because you think about it, right? Like a booty call, you handle business, and typically, like it's like, all right, I'll catch
Yeah,
you on the
nice
flip.
play on words for sure. Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? But yeah, so like, you had these women that would be going on dating apps and then, matching with a guy, right? And so you got to think about it, right? Like you're into, you meet this woman on a dating app and then you're engaging in conversation and you say, "Hey, let's go
Well, I'll,
out.
I'll answer that in a minute.
Yeah. So let's go out, let's have dinner, so on and so forth. You guys are having great conversation. Everything's going well, and in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I'm prepared for date number two, and only just to find out, like, oh no, she just wanted to go to this restaurant and get free food. Like one of the women said that she was getting free food for a week because living in New York City is so expensive. Like, do you know how grimy that is? Like that's like that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Women in America definitely they used a lot of the dating apps. They use they, they've used dates. They've used all kinds of methods in order to, OnlyFans and stuff like that, and certain things to gain advantage. I mean, on this side of the world, okay, I'll answer in a minute. To gain advantage, like I saw recently, like that T app is the number one downloaded app in
Oh
the US, and it's like really. That's what's on their minds right now, given what's going on. It's very shocking. Like, wow.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
that
you would think
yeah.
it'd be something else, like buying bags or something, like some consumer thing, but it's like that's what it is. That's very interesting. Let me get to some of these questions. Jason's asked a few. Thank you, DC. Yeah, everybody like, share, subscribe. I'm trying to do more lives, maybe a weekly type of thing. So make sure y'all keep tuning in. He said, "Why are so many black men scared to visit the European countries. There are black women here too, if y'all want to date black only, but also way more violent variation than in South America. I think when it comes to the bros movement, that currency, like I was mentioning earlier in our discussion, Jason, I was talking about how the currency exchange, like when you go to Europe, that euro is stronger than a dollar in terms of a currency exchange. Um, and a lot of dudes are turned off by that because they feel like they're not getting a good deal. Even though to me, it really doesn't matter too much. It matters a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Like if something costs $12, it costs $12. Even if it's €10, if you think in dollars, you'll be fine. Um, but some people can't really keep their minds on that frame of thinking, so they just say, "Oh yeah, I'm at a loss when I'm in Europe, or Europe's super expensive." And when I was in France, I didn't find it too super expensive in France compared to like maybe say like New York or LA. Like I felt it worse than in France. And I went to France during like right after the Olympics, like shortly, like maybe a couple days after the Olympics. I had just missed the Olympics. So I went at a good time. They had cleaned up the city, it wasn't so crowded, and I was able to like go on tours and it wasn't so packed. So it was a good time. Um I don't know if
Um,
you can answer this, Kings and Dreams.
yeah, well, I can tell you, France is one of those cities that's overrated for me.
Well,
But
Paris. Yeah, sorry.
Paris is one of those cities that's overrated. Yeah, did I say France, the city? Yeah. Wow, it's late. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Because I don't know if I said
correct.
Paris
I was
either.
like, wait.
I just assumed people knew what I was saying, talking about. My bad, Paris, guys. I don't think I said
Yeah,
it.
yeah, Paris. But yeah, Spain. I mean, Spain is one of those. Spain is one of those countries. I think more brothers should definitely show up to, because Spain, you got a lot of beautiful women. Not only beautiful women, but like I like the culture. It's really cool. So I think that more men should go to Spain. I think that guys go to these places, but what's talked about is typically the big four, if you will, which is Dominican Republic, Colombia, Thailand, Brazil, and now I would say what's coming into the fold, the big five, is now Kenya.
You,
It,
you,
Ken-
think- you
yeah,
think
so, so
Kenya is gonna be a big five? I don't know yet because I feel like it's still. I don't know. I think it will maybe next year, but I think this year is still not a big five yet. But next year it probably will be. But
oh
Kenya.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I mean, because I just like I think what's happening is that more and more brothers are starting, are starting to go over there. You know what I mean? So I think that, like, I think what the thing is with all of those countries, well, the big four, they all have red light areas. I don't believe Kenya has a red light area, or like a dedicated red light area. Now, I do know there are some things that go on, you know what I mean? But I don't know if there's like a dedicated red light area. You
You gotta change your mindset. Like, when you're in Africa, it's not like an established red light area. It just you get what you pay for. Like you get what you pay for in all areas of activity. I think that's the safest way to say it and the best way to say it. Like if you have money in your pocket in Africa, you tend to get your way. Whether that's right or not, that's up for the debate, but that's kind of how it works in my opinion. Like,
Mhm.
being stopped by police and they're doing a traffic stop and then they stopping if you got money or they feel like you got money or you're an important person. Like in Nigeria, they'll stop stuff and let you go through, or they might let you slide. Like, say if one of your friends are with you in a club and they're not dressed appropriately, they'll let it slide. Um,
Mm.
Let me answer Jason Washington question. I think he was asking me because you had said the host, right? You said, do any countries intrigue me on east side of the hemisphere? East. I would love to go. I haven't been to Thailand. I guess would that be considered Eastern? I think that would be right.
Hmm.
Or is that Western? I don't know, depending on how you look at it. But I think that's Eastern. Or let me see, where else I would like to go in the East. I would like to go some European countries like Greece. I would like to go there. What else is intriguing me over there? Vietnam. Vietnam looks pretty good. Yeah, decent. You cracking me up, man. Vietnam. I'm trying to think where else is kind of on my list that I would like to hit over there in the east. I would like to go to China. I mean, China seems pretty cool, man. Not mainly, maybe not for dating for me per se, but who knows? You never know. But it seems cool from a historical perspective. I like history and stuff, and just to tour and see different stuff. They got the Great Wall. It's the second largest economy in the world, so it's worth checking out and seeing some stuff.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Definitely for me, um, a country that hasn't been spoken about. I think not really at all. But like you see a good portion of like beautiful women from there. Albania.
Oh
I,
yeah, that was a European country I was trying to think of. People have been talking to me about that. Brother's been saying something about that, but I don't want to put new spots out there I haven't been to yet.
right? Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, you
I
gotta
gotta
keep
get
it
my
pookie
feet wet
free.
first.
You gotta keep it pookie free. I got you.
Oh
Yeah, no.
nah.
Yeah, Amsterdam is a cool spot. Amsterdam is a cool spot. But yeah.
I think
So,
somebody else had a question. Nana K, he had a question. Which women are the best to date as a black man from Africa? Wait. Oh, you're from Africa and you're trying to date women? I don't know. Or are you black American trying to date? Uh, um, I'm a little confused now. Okay, I think you're an African man trying to date, right? And you probably live in the United States. Hmm. Well, I guess that rules out Africa, right? For you, but shoot, I'll just say I would say you
oh
should
no,
try
yeah, he's African. He's African, bro. He said
he's African, right?
he's
Oh, you're
Ghanaian.
from Ghana? If
Yeah.
you're from Ghana, I would try in Africa, I would say Tanzania. They're pretty submissive and less like westernized. That's kind of cool. Um for me, I would advise that. For dating, if you're talking about serious relationships, what else? I think what else would be a good one I've been to that I could say anything in Africa. I mean Uganda's kind of cool, but I'm not sure if you'll like them. But they seem pretty solid too, from my experience. Uganda's cool. Um, and then South America, I would say DR outside of the tourist areas is solid. It's not my choice, but I'm just going based off of what my experiences and others. I would say Dominican Republic outside of tourist areas is solid, and a lot of people like Colombia, but I'll let Kings and Dreams jump in on that.
Yeah. Well, shout out to my Ghanaian people, man. I like Ghana, man.
Yeah, I
I
love
haven't.
Ghana, man.
Well, let me say this. I like Ghanaian people. I have not been to Ghana, but I like Ghanaian people. Um, yeah. So I would say if you are trying to, if you're trying to date black woman, definitely go to Colombia, Brazil. You definitely have your Afro Latinas and
P Dubs at Santiago.
yeah, um, yes, Chile as well.
Yeah, I think he's talking about Santiago and Dominican Republic. They got
Oh, Santiago, Dominican.
yeah, yeah. There's a couple Santiagos around the world.
Right. Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
man, but this
Yeah.
is
I
what he
mean,
meant, I guess, to clarify us, give us clarification here. Um, hmm. He said, I got
nope.
this 29-year-old lady with 2 kids from the United States, and I'm 28. I'm just asking if I made the right choice. I think they're being funny. And I think you know the answer to that, but just to entertain this question, it depends. Honestly, she could be solid, man. If you give us more context, like I mean, it depends on if she makes you feel happy, you made the right choice. If she doesn't, you made the wrong choice. That's the best way I can answer that one.
Man, listen, Nana, this is not a good choice, brother. Listen, you are listen, you are 29 years old. You're not even 30 years old yet. Let me tell you, man, you're not even 30 years old.
Everybody said right.
So I okay, right. I was 29 when my son was born. My son is 11, and I just turned 40 this year. Right.
Oh, congratulations to your 40th birthday.
Thank you, appreciate you. Um, yeah, like and I know she's I'm sure she's nice and all of that, but you also got to think. Hold on, go back. You also got to
Oh,
think
okay.
about the long term. You also got to think about what's going to happen in the long term because, right, you end up being in this long term relationship with this woman. At some point, you're going to have to merge or come together. So now you're going to be a stepfather, right? And then if you and I assume you 29, if you don't have children yet, you're going to want children of your own, right? So now, you know, just between the four of y'all, you, her, 2 kids, that's 4 mouths to feed. You may want 2 kids. So that's 6 mouths to feed. You have to incorporate all of this, right? And this is me not saying that she's a bad woman or anything like that. What I am saying is that the baggage, you have to think about, okay, am I willing to have to make sure that 6 people have a roof over their head, they're taken care of, things of that sort, right? Because ultimately that's going to be a responsibility.
Oh, okay. Let me put up. He's adding to the conversation here. She's asking me over to the U.S. and all. And he says I don't have children, but she's willing to give me one.
Like I said, right? You come over there, right? And you come over there. Not only that, but you're gonna have to, it's gonna take time for you to get a job, right? Because you have to get a visa, a working visa, and you don't know how long that's gonna take. And then also, like, your schooling or whatever skill sets that you have over there, are they accredited in the United States, right? Because I know doctors and lawyers from other countries, right, and they do well in their other country. They come to the United States and they're a janitor. Not knocking anyone who's a janitor, but as I mentioned, janitor money in the United States is not going to be able to help to take care of her 2 children, and yourself. Then if you have one kid, right? Now, okay, now it's 5 mouths. Let's say she gets pregnant again. That's 6 mouths. Your 2 kids together, her 2 kids, you and her.
Right.
Man, listen.
And
No
and
way.
and to add on Kings and Dreams, like say if y'all get married, Nana, then you're taking care of the family for a while. You find a way to over here, you find a good job or whatever, or you start a business, however you earn your money, and then maybe the laws and rules are against you, Nana. You know what I'm saying? Like she already has children that aren't yours, and then maybe if she gives you one, like you said, and y'all do that, that's three. And then if she decides to leave you, you're on the hook for that family. if she
Yep.
decides to leave you, because that's going to be baked in to the child support or alimony or just the support she needs because she was married to you. Now you got a divorce. That's something to think about. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. Exactly. It's going to be a lot to think about, man. You got to think about all that because in the United States, these women can take the hard earned work from you. Like, that's why dating abroad is a better option, even for a person like yourself. If you don't want to date in Ghana, that's fine, but I wouldn't advise to, if you're not living in the United States, to date in the United States because the laws and rules are going to be potentially harsh to you. You might not know about it, but you have to consider that, especially when a woman has children that aren't yours. If she has all your children, I would lean, I would still say no, but I would lean more to the yes because, like, at least it's your children. It's not
Right.
someone else's children you're sponsoring. I mean, unless that's something you want to do. I'm not going to tell a man what to do, but since you posed the question, if you're doing the right thing, I'm just advising you. I personally wouldn't do it if I was you or even myself.
Nah, 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 nah,
exactly.
nah.
Exactly. Don't do it. Don't do it,
No,
brother. I know
no,
you probably want to
no.
come over here to the United States, and that's why her baby dad's prison for long term.
Ah,
No, no, stay away. That's a stay. No,
hell
no,
nah.
no, hell no, no, no,
No, no, no, no,
no,
no, no.
no.
And shout out to Jason. I saw a comment and he was saying if she loves you, move her to Ghana. And
Oh
I
yeah,
was I was I was gonna consider that, but then you said, oh man, her
no,
kid's
no, no,
dad is
no.
in
But
prison.
that is a thing that a lot of, I guess, in the passport sister community, or I guess a lot of modern women are starting to do. They're starting to try to do the same thing as blue book gentlemen, passport bros, or people just traveling, men traveling abroad to seek dating, relationships, or peace. They're trying to do the same thing because American women or Western women like to compete with men and everything. It seems like even though they really can, because
Yeah,
certain things, but they love to compete with them, and they're finding that it's not the same. Like, yeah, you leaving American men to go find African men or Latin American men, Hispanic men, Asian men. It's like the rules and structures of that society is totally different, and they find themselves in a culture shock where they end up sponsoring these men, and it's like this is the stuff you were complaining about in the United States, like having to deal
right.
with some of the men that you don't want, but here you are dealing with a man and you have to sponsor him, because obviously he's not going to make nearly as much as the average man in the United States, for example. So you go over to Ghana and meet him in his village, and it's like what it's below what you're used to. It's like you get a
Yeah,
shock, and then you come back home, for lack of better words, your tail between your legs.
yeah,
But you don't
yeah.
have a
No,
tail.
absolutely. Yeah, not Nana Nana. Looks like you said that you just wanted to come to the United States. Well, let me tell you something, man. You know what? You get a visitor's visa and you chill out for like a month or something like that. You hang out, you have some fun with her, and then you take your you go back to Ghana. I almost
Right.
slipped up again, my bad. But yeah, you go back to Ghana. That's it.
Maybe you know what, Nana. Maybe she can help you figure out a way to get here without marrying her and having a baby with
Visitor's
her.
visa.
Yeah, maybe she could give you a visitor's visa. I know Trump, President Trump, he's kind of restricted that for Ghanaians. I believe y'all guys get 3 months now instead of like 5 years or something like that. But you can make something work in 3 months. Maybe
Hey,
you can
hey,
figure it
hey,
out.
listen. All he need is 3 months. He have his fun with her, and then he go back to Ghana.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is
Maybe
this
she can
is
help you start a business out there in Ghana, like.
yeah. This listen, and I'm not trying to dump on the woman. You know what I mean? But listen, this is what I would say: recreational use only.
He said, right.
Seriously, seriously. I mean, I mean, listen, right? Because you don't, you don't know who the father, like who the father of her kids is, and what is he in prison for? How long is he going to be in prison, right? And like a lot of guys have to be careful of that because when you are, when you are taking care of another man's kids, and like you don't know what this man temperament is, you know, like what their dynamic is, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know. To me, like, and I think it was my man Jay Burden. Shout out to you. And he put red flags, like there's too many red flags and there's too many unknowns, man. And I'm sure that you like her. You've built a rapport and all that. You're a young man. You're not even 30 years old, man. Let me tell you something, man. Like, you have a lot of life to live, right? Like, when it comes to a lot of these men who are traveling and becoming expats and dating long term or whatever, I'm actually considered one of the young ones, and I just turned 40 this year. So trust me, you have a lot of life to live, brother. And going down this rabbit hole, it ain't it, my G. Cut it.
Yeah, because I know you want to get to the United States. I understand, but there has to be a better way because if you go that route, it's gonna definitely mess up your life in the future. And you don't want to be the guy telling younger people like, yeah, I really wanted to come to the US so bad. I made a big mistake, I got a child or two, and I gotta make all these payments, and she ended up, being disappointed because, I couldn't, I had to get my life started because when you move to another country, you got to start from zero. Like, I know it's the US, I know that they have the dollar and everything, but you're still starting from zero. Like, whatever you have in Ghana, you don't have that anymore. Like, you don't know
Nope.
nobody. Or you may know a few people, but you're on your own. You got to establish everything all over again. So it's very difficult. That's why even when Americans go overseas, even if they the power of the dollar, it's still difficult transition. So imagine you who you're making the CDs out there. It's going to be very difficult. Um, what are you saying, Nana? You said the younger ones are way harder to pursue. Yeah, because they got so many options over here. I mean, if that's what you're trying to do, date American women, they have so many different options. They have the American men. People with money, they have access to too much stuff. It's going to be difficult. And yeah, exactly what Kings and Dreams said. No, nah, just
That's it. That's it, brother.
you got
That's
to
it.
find another way, Nana. To be honest with you, I know
Yeah.
you want to get over here, but you got to find another way. Try school, try to save up some money, go to school, try to learn some skills, get employed, get that work visa. Yeah, you got to find another way. Because we're trying to tell you from our experiences of being raised in the United States, living here for years, like, it's not where it's at when it comes to that. Trust us.
Yeah, and not, and not only that, you never want to, like, you always want to be in control of your own situation. You if you come over here, right, like, depending on whatever, like, unless it's like, if it's a visitor's visa, um or let's say, like, she gets you a K1 visa, right? That's the quickest way to get you over here. But she's responsible for you. And if she's responsible for you, that gives her leverage over you. And you don't want that, man. Like, that, you want to be in the best position to have leverage, right? This is why I always tell men, like, don't move in with a woman. You know what I mean? Don't move into her place. One of my friends, he ended up moving in with this woman. He was paying most of the bills or whatever. They broke up, and I'm like, listen, you were paying most of the bills, and you have nothing to show for it now. And right, and now you have to get another place, right? And it's like, but you were paying most of the bills, in a place that you had no leverage on, nothing. You don't want to put yourself in that situation because you're going to be completely dependent on her. And what I was saying earlier, like, women want men to be doing better than them,
Yep.
and and
They date up, not down. Women tend to date up and not down, and we usually mean financially. That's what is. I mean, just to be
right, yeah, yeah, absolutely, because
straight, no chaser.
you, yeah.
Yep. Does anybody else have any other questions? Because we've been going a while. It's getting a little late over here. I was gonna wrap it up, close it
Sure.
out. Unless y'all have some final questions. But let's get your final thoughts. Kings and Dreams. Is foreign dating worth it? Dating outside the United States. Maybe you could close us out with that, and I guess I could give my little thoughts too, and we'll end it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, first of all, Malik Travels, thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate you. All of my people who actually came to watch this interview, who are watching from my channel, do me a solid. Make sure that you do subscribe to Malik Travels. I'll actually be interviewing him soon, so maybe before I leave to Colombia, because I'm going to be going there for 2 weeks, or I may do it when I come back. But I'll talk to you, Malik, and figure out what your schedule is. But
Yeah, no problem.
nonetheless, yeah, nonetheless. But thank you so much for having me. I truly truly appreciate it, and I do think that dating abroad is worth it. I just think that when it comes to culture and being cultured, I think that there are a lot of things as men we can learn, whether it's you're dating a woman casually, or whether it's a long term relationship or marriage, or well, what seems to be a big thing is polygamy, right? So I do think that dating abroad is is more beneficial. Now, of course, nothing is ever foolproof, right? Women are women globally, right? They're gonna have different mood swings. Hypergamy is global, right? But the thing is that you put yourself as a man in a better position to date women. But also, I would say to men, if you're going to be dating women from different cultures, you do have to learn and understand what her culture is like, right? Because there's certain things that are completely different from the United States. And a quick example here is like if you're dating a woman from Southeast Asia, typically you meet her family fairly quickly, right? Usually dating in the United States, you don't meet that woman's I'm sorry, you don't meet your woman's family, or she doesn't meet yours until it's like some sort of holiday, like, hey, mom or dad or both parents or whatever, you bring, Tasha home, on Thanksgiving. You guys been rocking out for 5 months and you guys are hot and heavy, right? It's real. But when you are dating a woman from Southeast Asia, you're typically going to meet her family fairly quickly. You know what I mean? So, you just have to be mindful of that and understand when you are dating these women from multiple countries, know about that country, educate yourself about that, right? You know what I mean? So know what are typical like normal practices and like that. So long story short, educate yourself, but I definitely think that it is well worth it, and your peace of mind is worth it. So whatever is beneficial to you. I mean, listen, some guys make it work in the United States. So I'm not opposed to that. What I am saying though is that the juice is not really worth the squeeze as much as it is dating abroad. Again, I appreciate you, my man Malik Foster Travels, man. It's me, Kings and Dreams, all platforms. Make sure that you do like, subscribe. Definitely make sure you check out the channel, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on this evening. Everybody, please throw some likes, throw some shares, subscribe to my man Kings and Dreams on all platforms, all social media platforms. He was a tremendous guest tonight. He dropped some knowledge. He educated brother. Thank you, Nana K, as well, for chiming in, and all the other as well. It was a great conversation. I got to know our guest better, got to pick his brain a little bit about this hot topic past couple of years about black men traveling abroad for dating and just peace of mind. So I appreciate everybody. And if you like conversations like this, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. We'll be having more interviews coming up, especially with different women as well and men that are living abroad, and get their perspectives on dating, just culture, and just travel. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. We're going to end it. Peace out, everybody.
Salute.